This book Mother and I wrote, let me just share something out of here. There is any amount of creative things you can do in praying. You can pray as you do the dishes. You can pray as you sweep the floor. You can pray while you make beds. You can pray while you're on the job. You can pray while you wait for an appointment. You can pray while you're standing in line. You know, I do that a lot. I'll be standing in line, looking at the people around me. I pray for them. Bless them. Ask that God would open their eyes. Pray as you wait in traffic. Pray as you walk to and from work. There's all kind of places to pray. There's another thing. If I can remember what page it's on. Yeah. Pray in the Bible. Novel idea. You know what? Anything that is written in the Word of God is doubly powerful in prayer. Because not only are you saying it, but it has already been spoken by God. Pray Psalms 100 for praise. Pray Psalm 6 for mercy. Pray Psalms 20 when you're in trouble. Pray Psalms 27 when you're fearful. You get the picture? Use creative processes to pray. If you will see Him in everything around you, prayer just starts flowing. The psalmist says, I have set the Lord always before me. And anybody can do that. When you see God, mental obstacles cease to exist and prayer just starts bursting forth. I can see the sky and start praising Him. I can see a tree and start thanking Him. And you can thank Him for the oxygen it gives. You can thank Him for the shade it gives. You see what I'm saying? Use creative processes. Don't ever let that be an obstacle. Well, I don't know what to pray about. Anything you see, you can pray about. The fifth one, and this is the last one, and it probably won't be that quick as those others. It's kind of two-part. And it's called the obstacle of silence. First part is kind of us being silent. You know, too much stress on noise and speaking is an obstacle to prayer. People unpracticed in prayer suppose that prayer is not being offered unless they're talking all the time. There are times of petition. And I was looking at your A New Beginning book, and it's got these things listed in there. There are times of adoration. There are times of praise. There are even times when you come crying and screaming to Jesus because you've been hurt, because you're crushed. There are times when words have to come forth. But never let it be thought that prayer is only for the people that are fluent. Because sometimes in my prayer, speech totally fails me. Our silence becomes not only an absence of words, but it becomes the stillness of our soul. And we leave trouble behind being quiet and still. Speech and silence together is what forms the path into the presence of God. It takes both of them. Our speech before Him and our silence matter because God not only listens to our mouth, but He listens to our heart. And sometimes we talk too much in prayer. And you know, God's a gentleman. He wants to speak to every one of you in this building tonight. But He's not going to talk until you're listening. Speaking sometimes is just not enough. And there has to be a divine utterance from my soul to him. Deuteronomy 4:10, put that on the screen, please. Especially the day that thou stoodest before the Lord thy God in Horeb. And this is what I like. When the Lord said unto them, gather me the people together, and I will make them hear my words. You see, God's words need to be heard, and that demands our silence at times. Because a word spoken, if it's not heard, it's lost. Listening is not the same as response, and us as Pentecostals have a hard time with that because we're so responsive with our worship, and we think it all has to be loud and noisy and all, and that's all good, and it all has its place, and I am 150% behind worship and exuberance in worship. But there has to be a balance to that. Prayer is not a monologue. Prayer is a dialogue. And a dialogue takes two people, me and him. And the only way that happens is I have to be quiet part of the time. Let me show you something. Hang on one second. I have to get ready here. Now, what is the picture there? What's the main essence of that great artwork I just did? Y'all want to give me a hand for that wonderful piece of artwork? Okay, well, that is my hand. The picture here is the void. The picture is the lack of what's there. You see, you cannot sketch stillness in words. The real essence of that is where nothing is. And in painting around the center of our lives with noise and with words, the sensitive listener to God has to hear the stillness and the quietness of his Spirit. You know, it's kind of like homelessness creates the appreciation of a home. You know, failures of our words foster an appreciation for the stillness of his presence. It's sometimes not in the noise. Sometimes it's the still small voice. And we need to learn the art of listening in his presence. You can learn far more by listening than you're ever going to learn by talking. And it's such a lost art. Entertaining his presence with my silence and stillness. You know, it's such a discipline for us who live so noisily and busily. There's always a MP3 player in our ear. There's a phone in our hand. There's a PDA. It's constant. Some kind of noise. I put my kids on a media fast. I've done it many times. No music, can't read, can't watch anything. Because I've done this for years. Ever so often, buddy, we unplug everything